Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is doing great. If you are new here, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a maxi tie back dress with a fork sleeve or a flutter sleeve, whichever one you choose to call it. Okay, so let's get started. So I have my pattern paper here. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to draft the front of the dress. So you can see some lines here. The first one is the starting line, which is going to serve as the upper chest line. The second one is the chest line. The third one is the bust point line. And this is the on the bust, then the waistline. So for you to cut this dress, you're going to cut it in as if you're cutting an off-shoulder dress. So what I did is to minus 6 inches from my measurement. The half length for the front is 18 and a half. Okay, the half length for the front is 18 and a half, and the back half length is 16 and a half. The front half length is longer than the back half length by 2 inches. Okay, why do we have the front half length longer than the back half length? Because we have bust at the front. But for those that use the same half length for both the front and the back, I will also show you how to go about that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is start imputing our measurement. So coming to the chest line, this is the upper chest line, remember? Then this is the chest line. So coming to the chest line, we're going to impute our bust measurement. And the bust I'm working with is 40 inches divided by 4 will give me 10 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance. This is my 10 inches and 1.5 seam allowance. Can you see? So this is where the 1.5 seam allowance is. So the next is to mark the round waist line. So for the round waist, the measurement I'm working with is 32 inches divided by 4 will give me 8 inches plus 2 inches that allowance. That will give me 10 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give me 11 and a half. So this is my 11 and a half. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join the point from the chest to the waist. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to mark the nipple to nipple line. So the nipple to nipple line I'm working with is 9 inches divided by 2 give me 4.5. So I'm going to mark 4.5 at the waistline, 4.5 at the on the bust line, 4.5 at the bust point line. Then I'll go up by 1 inch and stop there. Okay, so coming to the chest, upper chest line, okay, I'm going to mark 5.5. Why am I increasing the nipple to nipple line at the upper chest line? Because I don't want the style line to look as if it's coming towards the center. It looks funny. Okay, so that's why I mark 5.5 at the upper chest line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to connect the points. Then we'll connect this way to the upper chest line. Can you see? Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to take the darts. Remember, we added 2 inches at the waistline for the dart. So at the nipple to nipple line, I'm going to be marking 1 inch at each side of that line. So I'm going to mark 1 inch here and 1 inch here. Okay, I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. Coming to the underbust, I'm going to mark 1/4 on each side of the nipple to nipple line. Why am I doing 1/4? Because I want to tighten the underbust. Okay, so 1/4 here and 1/4 here. Okay, so I'm going to connect the points. Sorry, I'm working with pencil. I'll still highlight it with my marker. Okay, so this is it. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark the bust curve. Okay, so this is how you're going to place your curve ruler. Then we'll connect this way. So we're going to do the same other side. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do is to highlight it with my marker so that you can see what I'm doing clearly. Can you see? Can you see? Now the next thing we're going to do again is to take the bust dart. Remember that the front half length is 18 inches and the back half length is 16 inches. Okay, that plus the seam allowance will give us 18 and a half, and the back half length plus seam allowance will give us 16 and a half. Okay, so coming to the bust point line, this is my bust point line. I'm going to mark the difference between the front half length and the back half length. So the difference is 2 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark my 2 inches at that side, then I'll connect to this nipple to nipple line this way. Can you see? So I'll highlight it with my marker. Can you see? So the next thing we're going to do is to tighten our upper chest line. So what I will be doing is to tighten it by one inch on each side of the nipple to nipple line. So I'm going to mark 1 inch here, and at this side I will mark 1 inch. Okay, so with my stretch ruler I'm going to connect. So that 1 inch I came up by at the nipple to nipple, sorry, at the bust points line, at the bust point, you know, I came up by 1 inch. Why I came up by 1 inch? Because I don't want the bust area to be looking pointed. Okay, so I'm going to connect this way, and you see, and connect the dots this way. Can you see? I have a similar tutorial on my channel, but the difference between this one I'm doing and that one is the other one, the belt at the back is bigger. Okay, but the belt at the back of this one is going to be smaller. Okay, so we are almost done. So the next thing we are going to do is to take the measurement of our upper chest line. So how do we determine that? We are going to work with our shoulder measurement. Your shoulder divided by 2 minus 2 inches. The shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches divided by 2 will give me 7.5. If I minus 2 inches from that 7.5, I will have 5.5. This works for everybody. That will make your upper chest line to be firm. Your strap, that's the strap you're going to fix on your dress, will not be dropping out of your shoulder. Okay, that's the best way to go about it. Your shoulder divided by 2 minus 2 inches. Okay, so we're going to take that measurement now. So from here, from the center front here, we're going to measure to where we have our dart leg, the first dart leg. We have 4.5 there. So we're going to take that, move to the next dart, that's the last dart line. Okay, we'll place the measurement there and continue with our measurements. Okay, until we have our 5.5. So this is where our 5.5 is. Remember that I did not include these darts. Okay, so that is it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to form my armhole curve. So the armhole curve I'm going to draw is not going to be deep. Remember, we are making an off shoulder. It's not supposed to be deep, so that you'll be able to move your arm. Okay, so this is it. So I'll go ahead and highlight it. Can you see? Can you see what we have there? So we are done with this front, so we're going to cut it out. Now at this point you can choose not to work with this kind of neckline. You can do a sweetheart neckline if you wish, but what I'm doing is exactly what I'm seeing on the thumbnail. And again, you can as well not you can as well choose not to have your style line at the front. You can just do your darts or leave it that way. But I feel that if you don't add any dart style line, that is going to, your boss will be looking very flat at the front, which is not, it won't be fine. Okay, so that's that. So we'll go ahead and call this out. So before we do that, we're going to open this dart, then we'll close our this bust dart. So I've gone ahead to cut out the darts at the waist, as you can see, and also the dart at the upper chest line. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. The dart at the upper chest line, this is it. This one is off. And the next thing I did is to open up the dart at the bust area. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to close that dart this way. Now if you're working with the same half length for the front and the back, what you're going to do is just to ignore this dart manipulation. Okay, you don't need to do your darts, you don't need to do the bust darts, because your front and the back are equal. Okay, so what we're doing, the dot is the the bust dart is for the side of the back and the side of the front to align also, and also to give the upper part of your dress shape, beautiful shape. Okay, it's not as if you are using the same front half length and you still not have what you desire. But this one, I think I love the kind of fitting I usually have while using this bust technique method. Okay, so that's that. So if you're using the front and the back half length, that is the same measurement, you don't need to do the bust darts. Okay, so you can see there's a small shortage here. So what we're going to do now is to close that up, connect back to the chest line, and we are good to go. Can you see? So what I need to do is just to cut out this out. Okay. Can you see? Then I'm going to add allowance at the armhole. So I'll cut this excess out, and this one. So we are done with the front. Can you see? We are done with the front. So the next thing we're going to do now is to wrap the back. Now, while transferring to your fabric, you are going to add the allowance here at the top part and here to join these pieces together, and also here. There's allowance already at the waistline. Remember that the waistline is 18 inches, but I added half, making it 18 and a half. And for the back, I'll be doing 16, then I'll add half to make it 16 and a half. So that's that for the front. So this is a pattern for the back. Remember, the front half length for the back is 16 inches. So I'm going to be minusing 6 inches. Can you see where we are starting? This is our upper chest line for the back. So I'm going to place my tape at 6. Then take my measurement. I've already done that. This is my chest line. Chest line is 8 inches. And this is the half length of 16 plus half inch, size 16 and a half. So coming to the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement, which is 40 divided by 4 will give me 10 and a half. Okay, sorry, will give me 10 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give me 11 and a half. So this is it. So this is it. So coming to the waistline, I'm going to mark my waist, divide by 4 will give me 8 inches. My waist is 32, divided by 4 will give me 8 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give me 9.5. There is no dart at the back. You're going to see why. So I'm going to connect the chest to the waist. So this is it. So here is the center back. There is no zipper allowance. Remember, we are going to have is a tie back dress. Okay, so there is no zipper at the back. So what we're going to do now is to connect our armhole. For us to do that, remember, we are going to work with shoulder measurement. Our shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2 will give me 7.5, minus 2 inches will give me 5.5. So I'm going to mark 5.5 here. Can you see? Then I'll connect this way. Can you see? So that is that. So coming to the upper chest line, now you have to consider how bold you want your strap to be. Okay, I want my strap to be 2 inches. Okay, so 2 inches. What I'm going to do at that point where I have my where my armhole curve start, I'm going to place my tape there and mark go in by 2 inches and mark. Can you see what I did? From where my curve starts, that is the armhole curve, I'll go in by 2 inches and mark it. Okay, now coming to my waistline, you also have to consider the belt you're going to use to tie the belt. How big do you want or how bold do you want your belt to be? I want mine to be 3 inches big. Okay, that is the width of my belt. I want it to be 3 inches. So at the waistline, I'll place my tape at the waistline and go up by 3 inches and the mark. So this is my 3 inches here. Can you see what I'm doing? This is my waistline, go up by 3 inches and mark. This is very easy. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to connect this point to this point. Remember, from the armhole we came in by 2 inches. At the waistline we came up by 3 inches, depending on how big you want your belt to be. Now coming to the upper chest line, it depends on how big you want your strap to be. If you want your strap to be more than 2 inches, please go in by how many inches you want the width of your strap to be. The same thing applies to the waistline. Depending on the belt you are tying at the back, depending on how big or how small you want the belt, you go up by that amount. If you want your belt to be bigger, you go up by 3 inches or 4 inches or 5 inches, depending on how big you want it to be. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to connect the points together. Okay, so this is it. This is how I connect my points using a curve ruler. Okay, so this is how I want the back to look like. You can as well do a deep curve. You can as well do a deeper curve. Okay, so now another thing I want you to note is that, see, I move in by half of an inch because I don't want my belt to start exactly at the middle of my back, because this is the center back. I don't want it to start. I want the belt to be half inch inside before the center back. So you can see I came in by half of an inch. So I'm going to cut this half of an inch out. So if you want your back to be more curvy, then you have to look for a ruler that is as curved as this, and you do that. Can you see the second curve? So at this waistline, I'm also going to come in by half of an inch to connect to this point. So I'm going to use my pencil to do that. Can you see? So we're done with the back. Can you see? So what I'm going to do now is to cut this off. So I've cut it out, as you can see. And I also include the armhole seam allowance, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to transfer this pattern to our fabric. Now we are going to be cutting lining for this as well, okay? You can choose to use the same fabric for the lining for the upper part. If you have another lining that matches your fabric, you can as well use that, okay? So another thing I want to mention here is the amount of fabric you're going to use. 3.5 yard of fabric should be enough for you, okay, for this project. But I have a leftover fabrics I'll be working with. These are the fabrics. I have this one and a black crepe, okay. This is a crepe fabric, and this also is a crepe fabric. So I'll be using them together because I don't want to get a new fabric. But you can, if when you buy 3.5, okay, or if you have a leftover fabric that you can work with, just like I am doing, you can go ahead and use that. But make sure that it's up to 3 years or 3.5. For a smaller person, 3 years should be super enough for you. So I'll go ahead and transfer this to the pattern, to my fabric, and I'll come back and show you what to do next. So I'm done cutting out the fabrics, as you can see. So I cut both the lining and the main fabric. And you see, this is my lining, this is my main fabric. And also for the center piece, this is the main fabric, this is the lining, and this is the back. I've also gone ahead to cut out the strap. Okay, so for the strap, remember that we minus 6 inches for the front and 6 inches for the back. So all together we have there is 12 inches. So what I did is to cut 13 inches long piece of fabric for the strap. The extra 1 inch is for seam allowance, okay, to fix the strap to the front and also for the back. So the width of the strap is 2.5 on fold. Remember, we're going to close it, so by the time we close it, we'll be left with 2 inches. Remember, that's the provision we made while drafting the pattern, okay? We left 2 inches for the strap, okay? So for the sleeve, that's the ruffle sleeve. I've also measured out 12 inches times 2 because I'm going to pleat the sleeve. That is the pleated sleeve. I'm going to pleat it. So I double the length of the strap. Okay, I double the length of the strap. That is a 12 inches times 2. That will give me 24 inches. But I think I have more than 24 inches here. So what I'm going to do is to pleat the sleeve to match up the length of the strap. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is that while closing my strap, I'm going to position the sleeve this way. I must have finished gathering it, okay, so that it will match up with the length of the strap. Okay, it has to be inside. Okay, it has to be inside this way. Then I'll close it this way. So by the time I turn it out, the ruffle will be looking this way. Okay, it will be like this. And when you look closely, you can see that I weave this part. I've already gone ahead to weave this part. Can you see? So it's 2, 1 for the other side and one for the left side and one for the right side. Okay, so that's that for the strap. Okay, this is the second piece. This is the second piece, and this is the second piece for the sleeve. Can you see? So coming to the belt, this is the belt for the back. So I have 3.5 inches on fold. So by the time I close the belt, okay, I will be left with 3 inches. Okay, so the length of the sleeve determines you have the choice of choosing how long you want your belt to be, and also the fabric. Okay, if you have enough fabric, you can make your belt to be as long as you want. So what I have here, the length of the belt is 54 inches. Okay, by the time I close this end and tuck this inside, I will be left with 53 inches. Okay, so that's that for the belt. So this is the second piece for the belt. And for the lower part of the dress, remember that the dress has a lower part which has 2 layers. Okay, the lower layer and the first layer that will be attached to the waist of the upper part of the dress. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut that out, and remember that is a pleated, the lower part is pleated. So for you to know how much you're going to cut for the first layer of the lower part of the dress, what you're going to do is to measure your round waist. Round waist I am working with, remember, is 32 inches. So what I'm going to do is to double 32 inches by 2. You can as well do times 2.5 depending on your fabric, but I think times 2 is okay. It's not going to be too bulky around your waist. So what I did is to multiply my waist, which is 32 inches, times 2, and I have a 64 inches. Okay, 64 inches. So what I have here is 64 inches. Okay, this is the one I'm going to use for the first layer of the lower part of the dress. Okay, so what I have here is is 64 inches. So I'm going to divide it into two, one piece for the front and one piece for the back. If I divide it into two, I will be having a 32 inches for the front and 32 inches for the back. I hope you're not confused. Okay, so for the lower part of the dress, what I'm going to do now is to multiply whatever I have as on my first layer. I will multiply that by 2. Now the first layer we have 64 inches. So I'm going to multiply 64 times 2. And when you multiply 64 times 2, you are going to have 128, if I'm right. Yes, 128. So this is what I have. I've already gone ahead to, this is the piece I'm going to use for the second layer of the lower part of the dress. You can see that the dress is going to look beautiful with this combination. So that's the reason you shouldn't discard your leftover fabric. You can keep them. Who knows, you might come up with some beautiful design. So this is the one I'm going to use for the last layer of the dress. That's the lower part of the dress. Okay, so what I have here is 64 times 2 times 2. That should give us 124 inches. Sorry, 128 inches. So you can see it's very long. So I'm also going to cut this one into two, one for the front and one for the back. So if I cut this into that's the first layer, I'm going to pleat it, gather it, so that it can match up with the upper part of the dress. Okay, so and then for the back one, I'm going to fix elastic at the back. So what I'm going to do for the back piece is to create a channel where I'll be inserting the elastic. That is the one for the back. Okay, so for this, the lower layer, what I'm going to do is when I cut it into pieces, I will fix the one for the front, I will gather it, fix the one that will be at the lower part of this one to the front, and the one that will be at the back. I'm going to gather them, okay, and fix them. And also I cut out a pocket using this fabric. You can see the pocket. Okay, so there is nothing much. What you're going to do if you want to cut yours is just to, from this point, you're going to measure 10 inches, okay, or 9 inches. Then position your hand this way, then draw like an oval shape, okay, and you get your pocket. Okay, you can as well make this place to be on fold. That is, you won't open this place. So by the time you fix it, by the time you open it up, it will be like this. Then you can now fix it on the lower part of your dress. So that's that for this. So what I'm going to do now is to go over to my machine, couple these ones, okay, the upper part and the lower part, and I'll come back and show you how far I've gone with the dress. So this is how far I've gone with the dress. I've coupled the upper parts. You can see I've turned with the lining, fixed the strap and the sleeve. Can you see? Can you see? And I've closed one side of the upper part. You can see it. Can you see? This is the side I've closed. You can see I hide the seam allowance, and I've also closed the waist area for the back. This is the back piece. You can see I closed the waist area. Then coming to the front, you can see the waist area is still open because I'm going to hold both my preferred fabric and the lining and join into the lower part of the dress. Okay, so that's why it's still open. And this side, I've not joined this side together with the back. So I'll show you how I covered my side seam allowance. Okay, so what you're going to do is that this is your front and this is the back. Okay, you're going to bring the side of your back. I hope you're seeing it. This is the side of my back and this is the side of my front. So what I'm going to do is to bring the side of the back, that is this side, together with the lining. I'm holding the main fabric and the lining. Can you see? Main fabric and the lining. You're going to bring it and raise your lining up. The lining of your front, you raise it up. Pick your main fabric for the front. You're going to hold it this way and you pin it down, you pin it. Okay, now when you pin it, you notice that you have ½ inch allowance left at the waist area of the front. That ½ inch, you're going to use it to join to the lower part. Okay, so you're going to pin that area. Okay, then you bring your lining, the lining of your front. Can you see? I'm holding the side of my back, the two pieces, that is the lining and the main fabric of my back. Then I'll match it up with the main fabric of my front. Then the lining, this is the lining of the front. Can you see? Then I will use it and cover it up this way. Can you see? And I will sew with the allowance I left. I left 1.5 seam allowance. I will sew and close up the side seam allowance. And by the time I turn it we have something like this. I hope you get what I'm saying. So that is that for the upper part of this dress. So I will show you the lower part of the dress. So this is the lower part of the dress, and you can see I've fixed the second layer. Okay, so for you to know the amount you're going to cut, you know, I didn't mention it earlier. The black one, I cut from the waist down to the hem of the dress. I have 45 inches, and that 45 is 45 inches, and that 45 include my seam allowance. Okay, so what I did is to divide the 45 by 3, and I got divide 45 by 3. I have 30 inches as the black. That is, this black piece is 30 inches. That includes the seam allowance. Okay, and the lower part is 15 inches. Okay, so that is how I cut out my fabric. The lower part is 15 inches. This black part is 30 inches. Remember, it includes the seam allowance. I've also fixed the pocket, as you can see, and this is the second piece. And I've run a gather stitch at the waist. I'll gather it and fix it at the front of the upper part. That's this side. I'll fix it here. Okay. So another thing you need to know is okay, the back. Remember that what I showed you, the piece I showed you now is for the front. Okay, so for the back, this is the back piece for the lower part of the dress. Can you see? You can see I've inserted my elastic. Okay, so for you to figure out how to go about the channel for the casing for the elastic, what I did is that this black piece is longer than this one by 2.5 inches. Okay, I use that 2.5, fold it in, then create my elastic channel. Okay, then I insert my elastic channel, but before I do that, at the top upper part of the casing, I stitch it by a 1/4 of an inch to have this ruffle you are seeing here. Can you see? Can you see? It makes the lower part of the dress looking more beautiful. Can you see? And I've also fixed the pocket and also fixed the lower layer. So what I'm going to do now is to join the front piece to this piece, that's the back piece. Then I will fix the front to the upper part of the dress, and I will come back and show you the finished look. So I'm done with the dress. You can see looking so beautiful. So this is it. This is how the back looks like. Can you see? I'm yet to weave this part, so ignore this elastic you're seeing. I'm going to cut it off. So this is the strap. This is the length of the dress. This is the front Now, if you don't want to wear a bra with your dress, what you're going to do is just to insert fix your bra cup. Okay, so by the time you tie your belt firmly at the back, it will help support your bust. Okay, so this is it on my mannequin. There's a pocket, and this is my belt. You can see that the belt is quite long. Yes, I made it this long because I would love to bring it to the front, then take it to the back again and tie it there. So that's why I made it this long. And also the 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 width is big, unlike the one we have at the thumbnail. Okay, the one I have on the thumbnail is quite small. It's like half of the size. Yes, that's the size we have at the thumbnail, but mine is this big. Okay, that is what I want. And there's the waist. You can see. Camera is not doing justice to this. The way I fixed the elastic is so beautiful. And there's the lower part. There's the lower part looking beautiful. And this is the front. There's a pocket. There's the lower part of it. So for the belt, I said something about bringing the belt to the front. So when you bring the belt to the front, you can see it will give it another look. Can you see? So this is the reason I made the belt to be long. Can you see? You can see how beautiful it is. So it will give the dress another beautiful look. Can you see? Can you see? Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next one.